Hello, welcome to the channel. So I've got on the bench today a Sears Silvertone 1481. Never seen one of these in the flesh before. It runs on 110 volts obviously because it's an American amp, and we're going to have a bit of a look at it. This is in for a check over. Just turn it round and have a look at the back. You can see the speaker's been replaced, and if we hone in, you see that's an Eminence. So if we look at the front panel on there, we've got volume, across, a couple of inputs, a tone, on off switch and a fuse. Pretty simple thing, there's not a lot to it. Very similar to a Champ in some ways with what's in it, except a different rectifier tube, and I forget what that is now. So we've got a 6v6 which you can see there, and a 12x7. Now this amp didn't work at all when I first tried it. It's actually from a friend of mine who's got a music shop. Didn't actually work, and I didn't have my glasses on at the time. I didn't actually realise there were no 12x7 in it. We were missing. Just didn't, with having my glasses on, just didn't see it. Only till like when I got it back here and I looked in it, I thought, well, no wonder it don't work. It won't do with the tube missing. Let's switch it on and have a bit of a listen. So you see I've got the lead in there, so we've got signal. So if I just pull that out, you can hear it when I tap that capacitor. We just hone in. So there's something somewhere that's not quite right. So we're going to have to open it up and have a look. Judging by the noise, I would, and you can hear that increasing, I'd say that cap can is toast. That doesn't sound good at all. So we're going to switch it off, and we're going to open it up and have a look inside. Right, I've got this out of the chassis and I've got it running. What have I done with that chopstick? There it is. So if we go into where this cap's mounted here, we just zoom in. You can see when we move this, you're getting all sorts of problems, and that is because that is poorly grounded off there. And what they've done, so this grid leak resistor is grounded onto the tab of that capacitor, and that's just not a secure ground. But this cap is also you can hear that because it's not a secure ground. You can hear that background noise keep coming in and out there. Now then, here I've got a jumper, and that's wired to ground on the chassis. There you can see. Now watch what happens when we pop that on here. See how quiet that's gone now. And now when we poke around with the chopstick, it's absolutely fine. So that's just a poor ground on there. Why on earth they use those as those ground lugs? All they are is pulled through the chassis and twisted. They're not a secure ground. The amp's been recapped, and if you look here, the parts they've used are okay. They use the orange drops there for the two coupling caps. So if we move along onto here, it's had a 3-prong cord put in it. There's a bit of crappy soda, code soda on that on the end of that fuse terminal there, fuse holder terminal, and that one's just reflowing. And there's a few soda joints that are a bit iffy, basically, but it has been recapped, and it's a reasonable job. They've done a reasonable job. They put a terminal strip in there, and they've put a bolt. They've drilled out. Oh no, they have drilled through the chassis on that one. So what a lot of people do is they'll drill one of the rivets out on the capacitor mount. So like that rivet you can see there on the other side, and then they just put a bolt through it and fasten that tag strip which they've used. You can see that tag strip there. That capacitor's onto that tag strip, and what they do then is fasten that tag strip on there and then put the cap on. What they've done is drilled a hole through the chassis and put the tag strip on, which is okay, I suppose, but drilling holes through chassis on amps this age, is that a good idea? And then seeing as they made such a seeing as they'd gone to the trouble of drilling a hole and making such a good ground point there, you would have thought they'd ground the capacitor to it. Let's just see what happens when we do that. If I can just thread through there. In fact, we'll just touch it on, because I don't want to go right inside. Yep. So we can use that ground point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder a ground onto that, a ground lug onto that nut there, and just put that on and tighten it up, and that will get rid of the problems. Main issue I can see there is, and obviously the sound, you know, if that ground's not working right, then the amp's not going to be working right. So that seems to be the biggest problem. Everything else seems fine. I've had to ground out the input jacks though, because these aren't switching jacks, they're not grounding jacks. So, and I see it's turned up full. See what I mean? When you take that off, when you've not got a guitar plugged into it, so they're just open. But I think that's just how they came from the factory. They all look original. Pots look original. Said all the resistors changed as well, so you know, someone's gone to town on this amp, and they've showed willing, and most of it's all right. To be fair, that, you know, it's not a bad job. Most of it's all right. There's just a few things that I'm looking at now. The same person who's done this cap is not forced to put this power cord in. That, if you look at that joint on there, that is not good at all. Not good. It's virtually a code soda, that one. I think that's the last thing you need on the power. The other thing I've just noticed is, if we look at this, if we look at the grip cord on there, cord grip, there's all glue that's been mashed around that. So is that because it wouldn't hold the cable? Sorry, I'm moving the camera. Is that because it wouldn't hold the cable without doing that? So I'm just going to have a quick look at that, make sure that's safe, because that's the last thing we want, that pulling through. But other than that, everything seems quite reasonable in it. There's just a few bits and bobs there, and I say, just an error on that ground point there. And again, you can hear it noisy as soon as I ground it. And there is a little bit of background noise, and you'd expect that on a single-ended amp. These caps aren't, you know, you've probably got 20 microfarad there. You know, some people have put more smoothing in it, get even quieter, but you know, the idea is to make the amp as original as you can and not be modding it. The only other thing I have noticed on this amp, when I looked at the schematic as well, is there's no bypass caps on the preamp stages, no cathode bypass caps. So whilst that's original, and nobody's put them on, you're losing quite a bit of power through not having those. But though, I guess once you put even one of them on, you would have trouble keeping this amp clean. But it would give it a considerable more output. But there we are. So what I'm going to do is fix that ground, and sort that out, and we should be good to go on this really. Right, we've done that minor repair there. There's nothing major on this amp, just put that made that earth secure. But other than that, ready to go. Put a couple of tie wraps around that because it was moving on that power cord, so we sorted that out, put one on either side. That's not how I like to do them, but it'll suffice without getting the drill out and making that hole bigger. So that's really it. So I'm going to take this into the house and I'm going to give this a blast. Right, we've got it all put back together. We've got it plugged in, so we're going to have a listen. So I've got that on the neck pickup. I'm using this Paul Reed Smith Custom 24 SE. I've got that on the neck pickup on single coil. So we go onto the bridge pickup single coil. Flick it onto humbucker on the bridge pickup. So now we're on the neck pickup, but we're now in humbucker mode. So there we have it, not ever so loud, but it does sound quite nice. And you could actually get a bit more gain out of this amp by putting a cathode bypass capacitor on the first gain stage of the 12AX7. Did notice that on the schematic that there wasn't one, so you could get a bit more juice owner out of it. But all in all, for a little practice amp to use at home, it's great. It's a nice little tool and it's really cool looking as well. Really cool amp to have. Cabinet's a bit cheap, but that's how they were. They were mail order amplifiers in those days. I haven't had to do a lot to this really. Quite a lot of the work's been done. There were just the guy that had done it before just got a bit tripped up with that ground, not being secure. But other than that, really, not much of a repair. So thanks for watching, listening to me prattle on about amplifiers. Please subscribe to the channel if you wish to do so, and I'll see you all in a future video. So you all take care. Bye bye for now.